Hello, beauties. I want to share some wisdom and shed some light on the shadow and really what shadow means to me, and take a few minutes to settle in with a prayer. And this prayer is for everyone who is ready to release the shame, release the scarcity, the suppression of their lives and who they really are. And really that's what the shadows are about. So this prayer, this invocation is going to hold space for all of us to receive divine guidance and centered love around our shadows. So if you just want to receive this prayer and then go on your merry way, you're totally welcome. But after I do this prayer, I'm going to share some information around the shadow, and particularly this season that we are in and this, cosmological time that we are in, and how that relates to the shadow work that we are choosing to do right now. So to begin with this prayer, I invite you to just bring your hands to your heart, either in a prayer position or just holding the hands over the heart. Taking a few deep breaths here. You can either repeat the words after me, or you can just simply open your field to receive them, knowing that in our quantum nature, you will fully ground, anchor, and settle into the prayer that is being offered to you now. Dear Divine One, Mother of all, would you be so kind to hold us in this moment, in this time, in this place, where we are ready to descend into our shadows, where we are able to make the most of the season where the veil is thin. Dear Divine Mother, would you be so kind to hold us as we unravel the mysteries of our being that manifest the darkness, that manifest the shadows of our lives. May you hold us as we go and we untangle the knots of our psyche. May you hold us as we discover who we really are. May you teach us the bravery that it takes to be a well-healed human. May you allow us to bask in our humanity as we ground our spirit into our lives, trusting that we are exactly as we should be. Dear Divine Mother, may we transmute any old, outdated blockages and patterns in our lives that do not serve the overarching goal of universal pure love embodied within our existence. Dear Divine Mother, would you so kindly hold us as we discover what it means to live beyond the veil of the shadow. Thank you. Satnam, Amen. Allowing that to land. Beautiful. Thank you to those of you who are staying in this moment with me to receive the transmission of the sacred shadow. And my perspective comes from years of doing energy work and vibrational medicine, working with people as well as other people, as well as myself, around healing the shadows. And essentially what a shadow is the parts of ourselves that we have suppressed, the parts of ourselves that we have shamed and shunned and casted to the outskirts of our life. And when we are observing the shadow, it's important to really harness unconditional love and compassion, because a lot of times the things that are going on within our shadow are subconscious. They just happen by nature, and there's a lot of aspects that cause our shadows to evolve in such a way where they're casted out, they're suppressed, and they're shunned. And one that has to do with our society and the world that we are brought up in. And 2, that has to do with our lack of ability to know healthy coping mechanisms to actually heal the things in our life that we want to suppress, that we want to shame, that we want to, cast off into the parts of our lives that we don't see, right? We have not been, most of us have not been taught and resourced with coping mechanisms, with tools to handle our shadows. And there's something brilliant that happens when we experience trauma, when we experience pain, when we experience darkness. There's something brilliant that happens that's on a subconscious level, where our body, where our spirit takes a hold of the situation so that our mind can flatline and handle what's in front of us. So the spirit and the body begin to take all of this on. And that is brilliant, right? When it comes to defense mechanisms, when it comes to evolution and having to do what we gotta do, right? It's brilliant. But what happens is that these shames, these shadows, these suppressions lay dormant. They get stagnant. And they actually become the building blocks of our life that we get to live in reality, right? So there's this really funny, funky experience that begins to happen where our shadows, these pieces of ourselves that we are uncomfortable with, that we dislike, that we would rather not dive into or discover, begin to run our lives. And this is a cycle that happens time and time again until we catch it and we clear it. And it's almost erotic, the way that our shadows work in our lives. They're like, oh, you like this? You like this? You like going through this? You like holding on to this? You like feeling this? Here's more. And it's in order to uncover and unlock the shadows of your life, you have to be willing to go deep into them. You have to be willing to bravely descend into the pieces of yourself that you would rather not be seen. And the shadow is mysterious. The shadow is a time where we are unraveling the ickiness, the gunk of our lives, the times where we felt unseen, the times when we felt unworthy, the times when we felt ashamed, we felt embarrassed. All of those experiences are still laying within ourselves, right? And we have to consciously choose to resurrect them and rise them to be cleared so that they're no longer running our lives. And I'm sure all of you who are listening to this can agree to the uncomfortability of feeling your past dragging along like a ball and chain, the attachment to the past, the attachment to times when you felt less than worthy. It doesn't feel good to continue to walk around with that, right? We can all agree that. And so when we come to shadow work, this is what we are bringing. We are saying, I am ready to descend. I am ready to unveil. I am ready to be well healed. And so when you come into healing work, right, if you're here on my page, if you're listening to this video, it's because you are on a path of self-discovery. And when you're on this path of self-discovery, you're wanting to heal. So every single thing that you do, whether that's energy healing sessions, whether that's, doing somatic body work, whether that is, it's personal development, manifestation, neuro-linguistic programming, all of the different tools that we can pull upon for our healing journey, what you need to be focusing on is the shadow. Because if you want to manifest, if you want to magnetize great things in your life, if you want to be well healed, you can't just focus on the light, right? We have to focus on the shadow because that is what is running our lives. So how do we do that? How do we move beyond the notion of good vibes only and trying to stay positive? Allow yourself to fucking go to those dark places. Allow yourself to embrace the darkness of you. Allow yourself to find the places within you that are hiding. And a lot of times that takes trickery. One of my favorite animals in this shadow season of autumn and winter is the coyote. Because the coyote holds that essence of trickery, of being able to, move into those narrow places within life that can often be hard to get to, because this is a subconscious thing that is going on, right? The shadows, the experiences that are reliving through us, the trauma, is a subconscious experience. And so in order to get to those and like really heal them and clear them, we have to involve some form of trickery. And for me, the best, most easiest, most expansive way that I've been able to do that is through eroticism. And I know that might sound wild, like, how do you eroticize your traumas? Like, that sounds sick. That sounds whatever the story is that we want to attach to that. But the truth is, when we eroticize our wounds, when we eroticize our shadows, it gives space for it to be cleared, right? And that's that form of trickery. So in this shadow season, we're playing with these dynamics of the pieces of ourselves that we would rather not be seen, and that we would rather not even see ourselves. And so if we can eroticize them, if we can, focus on them and play with them, it allows them to rise to the surface so that we can see them with crystal clarity. This work is magnetic. This work is profound. This work will clear the deepest traumas, the deepest tragedies of our life. Like that, it can heal ancestral wounds. It can heal past life wounds. When we allow ourselves to eroticize the pieces of ourselves that hurt. And for me, and I think all of us probably have our own definition of eroticism, but for me, eroticism is the act of, focus and curiosity and devotion to devouring what is present. And so I'll say, for example, an attachment wound. If you have an attachment wound towards abandonment, and you hold and you cling on to everything so tightly, and you're trying to control it so that you're not abandoned, so that you can have some source of control in your life over the things and the experiences that you have in your life, we can see that as an opportunity. And if obviously when we hold attachments and we hold fear around letting go and we're trying to control everything, what that does is it doesn't let spirit flow through the experience. So it creates a barrier, a blockage from your authentic alignment to surface. So, for example, we can take this attachment wound and this abandonment wound, and we can eroticize it. We can say, what is this? How did I get here? What happens if I hold on to this a little bit tighter? How does that feel? Does that really feel good? No. Okay, what feels good? Loosening the grip. Ooh, that feels uncomfortable. Let me go there deeper. Let me go to that uncomfortable space deeper. Let me descend. Okay, what's here? And that pathway just keeps on emerging deeper and deeper and deeper until we find the core wound. And the core wound is often an experience that we've gone through that has caused us to subconsciously relive traumatic cycles. Perhaps your father left when you were a child, or perhaps your parents, they tried to love you so much, but they had jobs and they couldn't fully give you the love and attention that you needed, and they had to just leave you at a daycare. And as a child, that became traumatic, and you tried to hold on to every piece of love and happiness or joy or illusion of joy that you could, so that you could have control over what is coming in your life. So unveiling the shadows and living beyond the shadows is really saying that I am worthy of descending. I am worthy of fully witnessing myself, especially in the places where it hurts. And our modern world, like we said in the beginning, hasn't really nurtured our human consciousness to completely grasp and devour this concept for our liberation. It's going to take deep, as I can say, and many of you who have done shadow work can say, it takes deep devotion and deep support and framework to really be able to do this work in a way that brings a well-healed life. Because sometimes when we're just talking about our traumas and we're trying to scratch the surface of shadow work, and we're only focusing on loving and light, we are actually doing ourselves a disservice, because we are repeating those cycles of trauma in our life. And so if we want to break through trauma, if we want to ascend into new levels of harmony, of bliss, of coexistence with our full spectrum self, if we want to be able to embody the bliss, the happiness, the sexuality, the sensuality, the eroticism of ourselves and feel the full expression of our lives, we have to be willing to penetrate that darkness that is stopping us from going there. And that takes support. That takes having people in your life who can hold you there. That takes having people in your life who can expand you and show you and guide you into those dark spaces. Because the truth is, nobody is going to be there on the day you die to hold your hand. That's the truth. But right now, in this lived experience, in this human experience, in this time right now that we are sharing together, there are hundreds and thousands and millions and billions of people who can hold your hand right now through your life. So that by the time we get to that transitionary point when we die and we move into another reality or whatever you believe, we know how to hold ourselves through that transformation. So having people to support us and hold us in our shadows, in these places of ourselves, is the greatest liberation that we can offer ourselves. It's the greatest transformation that we can offer ourselves, because it truly does change everything. Because the shadows run our whole lives. They run, our relationships. They run our wealth. They run our quality of life and the full spectrum of it. So if you can do the shadow work, you can break through into new realities of love, of relations. You can break through into new realities of wealth, and you can live a life that feels nourishing, rather than a life that is running your human experience based off of your shadows and your unresolved wounds. And I want to leave with this one thing that really touched my heart this morning that I read in a card reading that I did for myself. And it was, are you ready to live from a space of true heart-centered action rather than reaction? And this just dropped me so deep into the essence of shadow work, because when we do shadow work and we actually heal and transcend beyond the shadows, we are able to live from a space of heart-centered action. And when we don't do the shadow work, when we don't do that deep healing work, we are simply reacting to life. Everything just becomes a reaction. And the greatest liberation we can offer ourselves is slowing down and tuning in and giving ourselves permission to go to those shadows. It takes devotion, it takes dedication, and it takes undivided attention. And that is what I'm here for. That's what I'm here for, is to hold you, to hold so many people, and I do hold so many people through these shadows, through these traumas, through these tragedies of their life that are still reliving and circulating through them. That is my expertise, is to hold people through that, whether that's in person in healing sessions or whether that is in group programs. When humans come together in the name of healing, great things happen. And that is the testimony, that is my legacy, that is what I'm here for. I humbly bow to each and every one of you. Thank you so much for sitting here with me in this conversation. And I want to log off by showing you these fucking gorgeous flowers that I got. I made this bouquet. So gorgeous. And this bouquet to me is an example of the beauty that happens when we do shadow work. When we go to those depths of our shadows, the beauty that can unfold. So even just adding things in your space to remind you of how powerful, how brilliant you are can offer such great transcendence. Sending infinite love and beauty to you all. Satnam.